Alright, so this fight breaks out. I think first off, you probably don't want to be here. I think you probably want to be here. So you can actually reach Anivia more easily while not being like as trapped between these two spots where you can't really juke to the left or right. Then I think you probably shouldn't get... it's kind of risky to focus on Anivia there though, so maybe you actually... Yeah, I think you actually made the right choice here. You shouldn't even be fighting here, period, honestly. It is like 2v4. So I think even just hitting Anivia here... Or is that Anivia? I think it is Anivia. I'm not sure if it's even worth the risk, honestly. You end up getting her, but... Yeah, it was very unlikely you'd even survive there. You actually almost did. But... honestly... I think I would have just been pinging Anivia away. Because you can't really make a play here when your team is nowhere near position. Like, it is somewhat tempting to go for Anivia here. But, I mean, at this point you're getting zoned off by Shaco, so you should just start pinging and just start pinging Anivia or Leona off. And just, honestly, just start leaving. Even if it means abandoning Leona to her death. It's better that either you die, Leona dies and you don't. Hey gamers, we're trying something a little new today. This gold viewer of mine asked me to review one of his games, and I've been meaning to try out reviews on my channel for a while, so I thought, why not? I've also started up a channel on my Discord server where you can submit your own VODs and have a chance to have it reviewed by me for videos for free. I obviously can't guarantee to review every single one depending on how many submissions I receive, but make sure to submit something if you want to at least be considered. The Discord link is in the description, and the channel is VOD Review Submissions. Record one of your games from your POV, not replay POV, and post a link to it from a video hosting site like YouTube or anything else like that, displaying the play champion, region, and KDA, either in the title or alongside your link. Next time I want to do a review video where I'll likely review multiple games at once, I'll be taking one of your submissions from that channel. Alright, so moving on to this game. This is somebody who plays on the Thailand server. He is a gold Jinx player. Well, he's an ADC player, and he's playing Jinx this game. Didn't actually check what the matchup is, but he's playing with Leona, which is pretty decent for Jinx. Because whenever Leona locks somebody down with, obviously, yeah, her CC, you can either follow that up with W if the target is really far away and not being blocked by minions, so that's some guaranteed burst because the Jinx W, even though she's not that great early game, it is actually pretty insane damage. It's just hard to land, but any lockdown makes that super easy. And if you are in range for traps, then another thing you can do is you just drop the traps down on the spot where the person is CC'd and chain your CC with Leona's CC, and then you can also chain your W with your own CC, and you can just use your W after the traps have already snared that person. So if you can land both, then that's really good, and it will give you a really good early game as Jinx. Alright, here we're just going to be leashing. We can skip through here. I don't know why Leona's not hitting that. Alright, taking the long path thing, that's fair enough. If you want to avoid getting cheesed. You could also place a ward in the tri-brush early on to avoid what happened to Leona, where she just walks into the enemies. You should ideally be rushing out of base literally as soon as possible. Oh man, this FPS is terrible. Is this on my end or his? Let me check. Alright, so I had a quick look, and it actually, the FPS gets significantly better around 3 minutes, so thankfully we don't have to suffer through this for too long. But yeah, getting into the lane, Leona immediately lands a knee. Need to do a better job of spacing out the Cho'Gath. Even if you get hit by the Q, you probably should not be getting hit by an auto. For now, you would just want to focus on, oof, this Leona's engaged. Okay, you just leave that, what you should be doing there. If we go back to here, actually, you're obviously way too far away to follow up on this, so what I would do is just let, like, you can start walking towards the Senna, but now she starts walking away, so now you should recognize, okay, we're no longer going to be able to hit Senna. Now start focusing on the wave so you can actually focus on getting this level 2. There's no point continuing to chase Senna, because you're not going to be able to get a good trade off on her with this wave focusing you anyway, even if she does let you hit her now. So this is way overstepping. And yeah, you should just be focusing on getting this level 2. Do have to probably back off there, yeah, since they're about to level 2 before you. I think you definitely could have beat them to level 2 though. Their wave clear was not as strong as your early game wave clear, even despite the fact that I don't think they leashed. I think you still could have had level 2 first if you'd focused more on the wave. You're also stepping up a little bit forward to center there, I would say. But this is good though. Nice one. I don't know if I would have bothered flashing. But I may have secured you the first blood. Slowly to the minions there, okay. So that's good. Use the W. I mean, I guess the flash is good because she still has flash up, right? I don't think she ever used that, so if you don't flash on her immediately, she's gonna flash away. Then she probably still dies, but you're gonna be taking a lot of damage in the meantime from Cho'Gath and the minions, so this was actually pretty smart, even though I wouldn't have done it, I think. After this, though, there's no need to keep running into melee range of Cho'Gath. You could just, continue standing, hang on. So you can stand right about here and just continue DPSing him. Well, he's probably going to be focusing Leona. His two options here are either abandon the fight, realize it's lost, and just run. Or he can try and get a return kill on Leona, which would not be smart at all. Or he can try and get a return kill on you, which requires him landing a Q on you, and then also having to close the gap onto you. And if you're just standing in a really safe spot, there's no chance that anything ever happens there. So if he were to try and actually kill you, that would also be a huge mistake because he's just never going to succeed. But you need to be standing there for that. When you stand here, you're making yourself a really easy target for him. And it makes it so while he's focusing Leona, he also can just easily choose to change his mind and just decide to focus you instead. Which is not what you want. And yeah, like, that's exactly what he does. He decides, wait, Jinx is just standing right next to Leona. I'll just go for Jinx instead. If he'd focused Leona, she would not have died because she's tankier. And you could have just easily been DPSing Cho'Gath all the same, just from a bit of a distance away. So that was unideal. I think the wave state is good for you though, right? So it's not a disaster. You get the double longsword, which is good, and a potion. It's a really good base overall. You're doing well so far. But that was a little bit imperfectly played. I think Cho'Gath was displaying that he would misplay that to the point where you should have had a free double kill. Because I think he was going to go on Leona there, which would be a huge mistake. All he could do there was run. He only ended up getting something because you mispositioned. And this is good Leona to base here, I think, because she doesn't need to protect you while you form the turret. They're never going to dive you here. I wouldn't be using rocket keys here. I would just wait for the wave to actually crash on their turret while you preserve your HP this way. I think using rocket cues on these minions is fine though. Just clear the wave as fast as possible. Give the enemy ball in as little time to harass you as possible. That's good. Not too bad for a Trader Euro 1v2 since she took that turret shot. I don't think you need to hit those melees at all. They're at an HP where if they were to go under turret, pretty much all of them would be lost hittable, so you don't need to touch them at all. You can just wait for them to go under turret and then you can lost hit them. There's no point to start hitting them early unless you're trying to set up their HPs to be lost hittable. This is definitely a moment to ward because you don't have to lost hit any of these melees for like the next 5 seconds at least. You're unlikely to get ganked in this position, but if you were to start pushing, then what would happen is that suddenly the mini wave is quite a bit further away. You know, the mini wave is going to be like... hang on. How can I use this app? God damn it, I installed the pen app. It's going to be over here anyway. And then you would, if you want the ward, you have to walk all the way around the ward and then walk back to the wave, and you're probably going to miss farm that way. Okay, close one. Should just be focusing on the Aaron there. No point focusing anybody else, I don't think. Now Cho'Gath because it's the closest one. Good. Okay. I think that was decently played. Obviously it was a bit risky to go for Senna there, but you did at least get the kill. I think probably it would have been better to just not kill her and just to make sure you're around to fix this wave state. Is there any way you could have done that without dying to her? Let me see. So you get 1 auto there, 2 autos, then the W. Yeah, I mean, I think ideally you would start to retreat from the turret range before using W, but obviously that decreases your chance of getting the kill. But especially if she turns back to use W, it's going to lock her down in place for a little bit. So you have some room to, even if you still get hit by the center W, at least you get out of the turret range. Instead of taking 2 turret shots, you'd only take 1, and then you can use W on her and finish her. It would also, if you move down here, that also give you a better angle where you can use your W and there's no chance really that she can dodge it because you just aim it slightly to the left, and so even if she jukes to the left, she's still gonna get hit, and she can't juke to the right because the wall is there. So it would be impossible, whereas at the moment, the way you aim it like here, from this position, it makes it so if you aim it slightly to the left, then she can potentially juke up a juking down. It'd be really hard to be fair, but anyway, let me just review the rest of that as well. So you should have been already turning on to Ivern there. It seems like you were committed to trying to get Cho'Gath, who's just running. No chance of that. You wanted to switch to focus to Ivern sooner. Get him dead sooner. And then if you'd said that W for Cho'Gath now, it would have actually been a lot freer and you would have killed him sooner. Although the way it turned out, you would have also just not had the W up for killing Senna, but whatever. But yeah, all in all, I would say that was not worth dying for that, but it's not the worst thing. The wave state could be worse. Some of those melees might go under turret, which would fix it, but I'm not sure. Just trying to see why I can't use my pen app on the screen, because I could use it before I started the video. But now whenever I move my cursor onto here, suddenly it's just not a pen. But I can use my pen on the other monitor, which you guys can't see, so that's useless. Anyway, so you enter lane here. You got Hakram covering you on the top side, or top side of you at least, doing the Drake, so you know you're not getting ganked. I would not really focus on shoving here, I don't think. I think that you want the enemies to be as overextended as possible, especially because your jungler is bot side. This wave is inevitably going to be pushing towards you. You do at least want to thin it to some extent, at least later on, once these minions are done killing your wave a little bit, so you can freeze it more easily. But Hakram can easily go for a gank right after Drake, and as a whole, like with your matchup, so you have probably a lot of kill potential on these guys. I think Cho'Gath, just by virtue of being a melee champion, is pretty vulnerable here, and Sen is also obviously pretty vulnerable. She's really squishy. Thing is, she's usually going to be in a better position than Cho'Gath is, and she doesn't need to farm, since I'm assuming this is a fasting Senna. I didn't check, but I'm assuming that would be the case. So what you want is for Cho'Gath to be as overextended as possible when he's farming. And that way, when you land a Leona combo, you're more likely to be able to convert it into a kill and chase them all the way to death before they get to the turret where they are safe. By thinning this out, you're just making it safer for them to farm. And also making it so it's harder for Hakram to get his gank off too. Which he wants to do after this, because it just looks like a really free gank. I don't think they've even warded yet. Even if they have, Hakram is pretty fast, he could very easily get onto them. If Leona's pinging that she wants to engage there, by the way, you definitely want to wait until she's actually landed her CC before you go for the W. Same with the traps. There was no point using traps there. Very unlikely to land, but if Leona does land her CC, then that would be really good to follow it up. You don't want to be wasting it like that. In a matchup like this, you absolutely just constantly save it. Oh, what? You constantly save it for the support CC. Unless you're at like the enemy turret where your support won't be engaging anyway. Yeah, see, this definitely could have been pushing towards you, and now the enemies would be screwed with Hakram bot side. Could have definitely used heal there to save Leona. Sometimes you don't want to bother using heal to save your support if they're just going to die anyway, if they're just absolutely doomed. But they didn't really have much power to just commit onto Leona there unless they wanted to like flash in. So that would have been just saving her for free. I think you can definitely turn with your W on her there, yep. May as well have used W like as soon as she was committed to hitting you there, because it was going to be undodgeable for her. The longer you waited, the more easily she could actually dodge that. Yep, not much for you to do here except auto attack. That flash isn't necessary. If you land the W on him, then you can get him back in auto attack range of him without even using flash. That was pretty unnecessary. You could also use heal on Pantheon here so we can get in W range. Looks like that won't be necessary though. I am sick, by the way, guys, in case my voice sounds a bit nasally to you, that would be why. Alright, so you can shove another wave here and then maybe go for the plating. I would prioritize the wave though. First things first here is the wave. You don't need to get the plating here, but you do need to get this wave if you want it to be a good wave state. You want to do what's important first. So first the wave, then the plating. And so you see now it turns out that they get in lane in time that you can't finish you can't finish both of those two things that you wanted to do, the wave and the plating. So the most important thing was the wave. You wanted to get the wave and then realize that you didn't have time to stick around for the plating, so you just leave the plating. Instead you realize halfway through shoving that you can't finish shoving, and that's just really awkward. Didn't screw you too bad since the enemies just shoved as hard as they could though. I would have followed up with W already, but this is good too. Well, except you didn't actually hit him with W. You definitely wanted to prioritize hitting W there. It's a lot of damage you missed out on. Definitely want to keep running from center there. Ooh, that was a close one. Okay, that turned out into a double, but it definitely was not the most cleanly you could have played that. So, as soon as that lands, you can already hit the W on Cho'Gath. You just want to maximize your damage there, get the Leona passive proc. And then either when he's slowed or CC'd by Leona again, that's when you focus on the traps. But you're not going to get in range of traps in time here. You can't place... Well, I don't know if it was CC'd for that long or if he just stood still. But definitely he could have actually been trapped there if you'd actually placed him on top of him. But yeah, so if you placed him on top of him, I suppose he could have just walked back. It's just because he stopped to use Q that it looked like he could have trapped him. But the traps are like decent in this situation, even if they didn't actually hit him, because they do at least force him to path around instead of taking the quickest path to his turret, which is just backwards, right? So they're not useless, but they don't do damage, and you could have at least landed the W and then also done something like that with the traps, either when Leona CCs him again, or with the slow of your W. Probably it's gonna have to be Leona CC because I think you were too far away to properly make use of that. And aside from this. I mean, he's definitely higher HP right now than he should be. I think at this point you could actually just use W and ult on him. I'm not sure if you'd need to actually walk so far to commit to him. Yeah, I think for sure you should have used your ultimate to finish him, because it forces you to have to commit with auto attacks for longer than necessary. You end up getting the kill on Senna with ultimate and not dying anyway, but that's just hindsight. I think the right play was to burst him as hard as possible with ult, so you don't get continuously DPS'd by Senna, who is their DPS in this lane, remember. The focus the carry concept applies here. You don't want to be, or at least it's very risky to be focusing Cho'Gath and getting free hit by Senna. Just worked out this time, barely. And this time for sure, yep, you get the wave and you get the turret. You can even get the plating, sorry, and you can even get 2 platings here. But after that, you definitely want to back off. Staying any more than that is just greedy. There's nothing to accomplish there. That next plating, so tanky, you were never going to get it. 2 platings is very doable in this situation because you're playing Jinx, who can push turrets very fast. She does a lot of damage to turrets. But almost any other ADC would want to leave after 1 plating. And Jinx definitely wants to leave after 2. You don't want to stick around for that unless you actually want to stick around for more items, which you don't. Definitely should not have even been in a position to be global there. Nice one. Set up there. I'd also venture out and go place a trinket in, yep, that brush right there. Or, yeah, actually in the river is decent as well. So even better potentially, although ideally here, for this to be good, you also want to actually clear the enemy blast cone. If it's up, which I'm assuming it will be. Otherwise, Ivern can just bypass the vision you just placed, but at least Leona put a board in that push now, so you can see Ivern if he shows up. Hang on. That was a big mistake. Hang on, where were we? This is when you were going for the platings, so here we go. Okay. Yeah, honestly, I still think you want to be freezing, so there's actually really no point in pushing here. You can only really hit the turret when the enemy bot lane is either dead or like 20% HP. And, ooh. Wanted to wait for the Leona CC there, but freezing W. Right, so, before all this happens, as I was saying, you can only really hit the turret either when the enemy bot lane is dead or when they're 20% HP. So, in the meantime, your objective is obviously to try to get them dead or low HP. For that, you obviously need Leona's help. Leona's going to be more effective the closer to your turret that the enemies are, rather than the closer to the enemy turret that they are. Because the closer to the enemy turret that you are, the riskier it is for Leona to engage. And if they're literally directly under turret, she can't engage. She is not a champion past like this point in the lane, right? And she's going to be more effective the closer to your turret that you are, and the more extended they are going to be as well for the potential Hecarim ganks. If you keep pushing and keeping the wave in the neutral position, they're going to be as safe as possible, even if it's not in a position where they can neutralize Leona. But you're going to have the most kill potential somewhere around here, right? So that's what you want to do in this lane, is just let the enemies push, and then wait for Leona to land and engage. Here they do mess up here though. I suppose you were going for that W before Leona actually ulted, right? I mean, I think you might have been reacting. You definitely want to wait until the stun has happened though. The traps are good though, yep. And I think... So ideally you'd finish off with her off with ultimate, but obviously Cho'Gath being here is a bit awkward. He might actually be able to block it. So maybe not really doable. But you see how the closer you are to your turret, the less likely that would be to turn sour, right? Because the less gankable you would be for the enemies, even if they gank right as you engage, it's less likely for that to actually result in killing you. And yeah, going for the mid wave is smart there, I think. Not sure you can actually stick around for the platings until you have either vision or somebody supporting you, but... No, actually I suppose enough are dead that you could actually go for... Okay, not platings anymore, but turret damage, I guess. Either that or you just help Hecarim with the Drake. Drake is pretty much gone. So at this point, you either go do Scuttle Crab... Oh, Pythian died. Ideally ward and also do Scuttle Crab, and then you should probably leave that to Hecarim since he wants it, and he'll get more gold and XP from it. And then, yep, rotate towards spot. And I would just keep sitting in this brush. Senna's gonna have to overextend here. Either she overextends, ooh, or she's never gonna farm again, and whoever farms that bot lane wave should die when you collapse on them with Leona. This works out decently as well, but... I don't think I would have rotated towards that wave yet, while this fight was still going on. Oh. Oh my... Why is this so clunky? What? Where were we? Oh, that was exactly where we were. Holy shit. Alright. Right, so I mean, ideally the fight should end there, right? But Team's still going for it. So you see, right now you see Anivia trying to collapse on your team. I would say that that's the cue for you to go back up your team as well. Make sure that they can't be too easily killed by Anivia and whoever else is choosing to fight. I don't think this was the time to go for the wave. I don't think you should also be trying to fight Cho'Gath here, because you're never really going to kill him unless he just massively fucks up. And you're already at the numbers disadvantage, so it's much more likely to turn sour for you than to actually yield to kill. You do at least get some free damage on him there, but it came with a big risk. Like, the best you could get out of it is damage, and the worst you could get out of it is a death, which is not like the potential to gain is not as good as the potential to lose, right? So in that case, it's not a trade you want to risk going for. Should just go into lane, start farming, and if Cho'Gath shows up to the lane as well, and he's alone, then you could actually go for that. I would say it's pretty safe right now. You don't have to be afraid there. You should, yeah, especially because you're playing Jinx and the turret is about to die. There's nothing that could kill you there. You just kill the turret, get your passive, and then just run away with 700 move speed or whatever it is, and nobody can catch you. You had enough vision to know that nobody could immediately ambush you, even if they were in the area.
What do you think? Mercy or mayhem?
Okay, that's good. No point using W there. Would probably get blocked by the minion even if you timed it right. Well, I think I would have just kept focusing Cho'Gath there, especially because of the Anivia egg. Works well though. Potentially a Quadra. Okay, not gonna be a Quadra sadly, probably, but... Alright, so here, obviously you're just focusing wherever you can. Was that... Oh, that was Shaco, yeah. It was really out of position, but... Yeah, I mean, at this point, for sure, I think you just continue focusing Cho'Gath. Not too much point, I think, in going on Anivia. I could be wrong, though. Let me see. It's the egg that concerns me. The fact that you're not going to immediately get a passive proc. If he'd hit that Q on you and he has ult, I don't know if he does, that could have gone much worse for you. And especially because it pauses your DPS onto Anivia, so she might have a chance to revive and stun you as well. Definitely the safest thing to do was focus Cho'Gath, but maybe this worked out better. It was some quick thinking regardless though. Props for that. You don't want to overstay there. You don't know where Shaco is. You may as well stick around from the wave now, but as a whole, it wasn't worth sticking around for another wave or to try and harass Cho'Gath. Hopefully you at least get Infinity Edge now. You should be... Oh, no, you already have it. Okay. Ooh. Close one. Damn. Maybe could have waited a little bit longer for that one. For him to get a little bit lower. Okay, you're going for a quick look dagger. That's fine. Presumably going for... Okay, Hurricane. I think in a game like this, what I would definitely prioritize is just Bloodthirster to make sure you can DPS or duel as many people as possible, always be safe. If you have a lead and your damage is always... Like, if you have a lead as Jinx, your damage is always going to be fine, right? You don't need to build as much damage as possible. You're always going to have enough damage to carry. So I would say that the priority becomes actually being able to stay alive to do all that damage. So the more ahead you are, the better Bloodthirster third item is. It's not completely mandatory though. There is obviously benefits to doing Renaissance third, but personally what I would do is just Bloodthirster. And I think this is also the point where some coaches would go into evaluating the comp and say whether you're actually going to get much value out of Runez or whether you should build Fire Cannon. I don't really care. Either one is fine. Okay, I was a bit distracted during the start of that, but I'm guessing the enemies just ran at your team and died. Okay, that was a huge enemy mispositioning. Yeah, you did. Basically, it was hard to go wrong in this fight. You did pretty much what you needed to. Nice one. Okay, Baron isn't up, sadly. But you can definitely get some turrets here, and Heartcrown doing the Drake, perfect. It's definitely for the best that only one person on your team does Drake. The rest of you should be pushing. I don't know what Pantheon is doing. It should be helping you push slightly faster and maybe increase the chances of getting an inhib or an inhib tower. At this point, I would say you can't go for the inhib turret. It's too risky. Yeah. I would also love to take the wolves here, but again, probably too risky at this point. No. Your team is retreating. Mostly has already retreated. Wow, you actually get a kill though. Still, it's too risky. I think he might have had Q. I'm not sure why. He actually died there. Should have been able to escape. Going for blue is actually fine here though. The wolves were risky because to farm them you have to get into a spot where it's hard to escape for the enemies, but blue isn't like placed in a position where you actually are safe while farming it, unless they flank you from the side, like over here. But obviously it takes them a while to traverse that wall, so it's relatively safe. Okay, Redance and Fire Cannon in the same build. I wouldn't say that's worth it this early on. I think it's maybe fine in a full build. Kind of underrated. But I think at this point, when you have the Zeal item third, you would probably want to couple it with something that gives more AD. Either Bloodthirster or Dominic's or whatever. In a game like this, definitely, I think Bloodthirster. I don't think these have much armor. Or even Stormraiser, as Gumayusi actually did. In T1 versus Gen G yesterday. Personally, I would still prefer Bloodthirster. I don't actually build Stormraiser much since the changes where Bloodthirster is so good now. But Stormraiser is still definitely really underrated. It would also be an option here. I think flanking there would actually be a decent choice, just so long as you're actually going to stay safe from the enemies, which I think you mostly can. Those traps are really good for blocking them off. I don't know if that didn't hit. Yeah, it didn't hit. Sad. That looked like it was on point. That could have gone worse. Should have been further watching out for a potential Anivia Q from us out of fog. It's a pretty common move for Anivias to make to catch out somebody in that position. I don't know what that was about though. That was completely troll. I don't think you need me to tell you that. Definitely don't want to trade autos with a turret if you don't have minions. I definitely don't want to do it if it involves walking up to a Trogath. Okay, let's get forwards here. Damn. Oh, he's still gonna die, I guess. Nice one. It's a shame we didn't kill him sooner, so you could have got passive. Ooh, that flash was definitely not necessary. I think you might even be able to reach Anivia for the chaps without even flashing. She would have been displaced by the hacker me anyway, but I mean, either way, she's so low here that you just probably just one-shot her. You barely gained anything at all from that flash. Okay, somehow pretty much the entire enemy team is dead. I think the only one alive is Shaco, who's AP Shaco, so just make sure you're not getting hit by the boxes. This should be free turret at the very least, maybe even a free inhib. Yeah, it's good to harass him with W whenever you can. Don't bother hitting him too much, but yeah, that's pretty good. Not over chasing him, but definitely pressuring him while he's around, trying to be annoying. Drake up in 25. Okay. Otherwise, I would have taken that pink that was on near the enemy raptors and also checked the enemy red buff. But I suppose heading towards there is kind of risky, because the enemies might just chase you away from there, and then you can't get to the Drake in time or something. That's risky. You don't want to be standing still like that in case an is Q. Alright, so this fight breaks out. I think first off, you probably don't want to be here. I think you probably want to be here, so you can actually reach Anivia more easily while not being like as trapped between these two spots where you can't really juke to the left or right. Then I think you probably shouldn't get... it's kind of risky to focus on Anivia there though, so maybe you actually... Yeah, I think you actually made the right choice here. You shouldn't even be fighting here, period, honestly. It is like 2v4. So I think even just hitting Anivia here... Or is that Anivia? I think it is Anivia. I'm not sure if it's even worth the risk, honestly. You end up getting her, but... Yeah, it was very unlikely you'd even survive there. You actually almost did. But... honestly... I think I would have just been pinging Anivia away, because you can't really make a play here when your team is nowhere near position. Yep. Like, it is somewhat tempting to go for Anivia here. But, I mean, at this point you're getting zoned off by Shaco, so you should just start pinging, and just start pinging Anivia or Leona off. And just, honestly, just start leaving. Even if it means abandoning Leona to her death. It's better that either you die, Leona dies and you don't. Even if, what was it I was trying to say, actually? Oh, it's better to have a guaranteed chance of you surviving than a chance that maybe you and Leona both survive. Right? That's what I would say. Especially because even if you do survive, you're probably going to be really low HP. And the enemies could potentially win a fight off of that. I think just guaranteeing Leona's death, because she's in too far deep there, honestly, is just the safest option. Because trying to back her up is not really likely to yield a good result there. I guess it wasn't too bad an idea on paper initially to try and get a catch there. But as soon as Shaco showed up alongside the Anivia, and then we saw more people of the enemy team coming in behind them, you definitely just had to abandon it. I like the Gumo Yusi style of auto-attacking, by the way, just spamming A. Could never play like that. Alright, I think here you just want to shove one mid wave, as you are doing. Then you should rotate bot with your team. I don't know where your team is bot, though. I think what actually I would be doing here is just pinging Baron. But obviously there's only so much control you can have over your team's actions, so if your team is going to be group bot, you should group bot with them. But yeah, Hakram has the right idea here. You should be backing up that call. And pinging on Baron as well. Looks like your entire team is rotating there, so that's good. Also wouldn't really say you need Hexdrinker in this game. I suppose No Magic Mantle was actually the best component you could pick up there, maybe. But you definitely, I would say, want to just pull Bloodthirster. There's not much point in not doing Bloodthirster. It's going to be really good for your general survivability. Maybe not as good as Maw, but it's going to be... Obviously, it's going to outperform Maw just because of the extra damage you're going to get. Oh my god. That's some funny attack speed. Oh man. Let me see if you could have done anything better there. For the most part, you were just mauling them down though. So good W on Senate, finish her off. I think you got definitely a bit too close to Cho'Gath here. I see what you were doing. I would have prioritized focusing the Cho'Gath though. You could also place traps on Cho'Gath to make sure he either couldn't reach you or couldn't run away, whichever you prefer. Either one is fine in that situation, I think. But you obviously walk onto these because you want to do AoE. It's tempting, but I would say that it's not really worth it compared to the damage you can take from Cho'Gath here. And then getting walled in by an Anivia as well. Like, you could probably just shred the rest of them anyway after. Since your team was all pretty healthy. So you weren't on a timer to be able to melt the enemy team. That wasn't like your one chance to kill them. You're gonna have a lot of chances throughout that fight. Alright, that's gonna be game. So, I hope you found this review helpful. I don't know what your name is since I can't read the font it's in. But, yeah, I hope you found it helpful. To anybody else who's watched this video, hope you find it helpful also. Make sure to submit your reviews in the Discord server as explained at the start. If you want to have a chance to have a review of your own for one of your own games. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. And hopefully I keep getting better at these reviews since I don't do them too much. Later, gamers.